In 1850, a French archaeologist named Jean-Philippe Lauer, known simply as Jean, set out on an expedition that would lead to a remarkable discovery in Saqqara, Egypt. Jean's journey took him to the enigmatic Zorsair step pyramid, a structure buried deep in the yellow sands of Saqqara, 30 kilometers south of Cairo. The Zorsair step pyramid, unlike the better-known pyramids, stood as an ancient monument with a fascinating backstory. As Jean and his team began excavating the site, they uncovered a series of stone coffins hidden within an underground temple complex. However, upon opening the coffins, Jean was shocked to find that they contained no mummies, as would be expected in ancient Egyptian tombs. Instead, there were only piles of dry, shriveled green leaves. The absence of mummies and traditional burial practices puzzled Jean, who was initially convinced that the site might be a royal tomb. But after further examination, he came to a groundbreaking conclusion. The Serapeum, as he later identified the site, was not a tomb at all. Rather, it was a sacred place of worship, dedicated to the goddess Abyssinia, a divine figure associated with life and death. The discovery of the Serapeum and its stone coffins led Jean to challenge long-standing assumptions about the purpose of such structures in Egypt. According to his findings, the site had been constructed during Egypt's 19th dynasty as part of a broader religious complex designed for rituals and spiritual practices rather than for the burial of kings and pharaohs. The stone coffins, far from being burial chambers, appeared to have served a more mystical role, perhaps connected to the storage and amplification of spiritual energies. This discovery aligned with theories suggesting that ancient Egyptians did not use the pyramids for traditional burial purposes, but instead for purposes that were far more esoteric. This rethinking of Egyptian architecture and spiritual practices ties into a much larger narrative, one that extends beyond the tombs of Egypt and into the broader realm of spiritual exploration. If you are familiar with the work of Dolores Cannon, this discovery comes as no surprise. As a renowned hypnotherapist, Dolores regressed many individuals to uncover spiritual truths, and in her research, she uncovered fascinating insights about the pyramids and their true purpose. Dolores Cannon, a pioneering hypnotherapist who regressed numerous individuals to uncover spiritual truths. In her books, particularly The Convoluted Universe, she documented the remarkable insights shared by her clients during past life regressions. Many of them spoke of an ancient civilization that predates modern humanity, the Atlanteans. According to these regressions, the Atlanteans were a highly advanced, spiritually evolved society, skilled in using spiritual powers and energetic tools. Instead of relying on metals like steel, they used spiritual energy and crystals for healing and amplifying power. Their downfall came when they overused these energies, which caused their continent to sink beneath the sea. Survivors of this catastrophe migrated to places like Egypt and Easter Island and built structures here and there, and they used their knowledge to build monumental structures such as the pyramids. Interestingly, the pyramids were not designed for burial purposes. Instead, they were used to collect solar and lunar energy, energies that could be stored and amplified within the chambers. These energies were then used to communicate with celestial visitors or for other esoteric purposes. Some even recall in past life regressions that the pyramids were built with the assistance of extraterrestrial beings, their ships hovering above the structures as the Atlantean descendants constructed them using their minds. This idea may explain why the pyramids, like the step pyramid in Saqqara, contain no bodies. Instead of serving as tombs, these pyramids were energy collectors. housing energies meant to be used at specific times or to communicate with otherworldly visitors. At first, the indigenous Egyptians looked up to the Atlantean descendants and even pretended to worship them. However, over time, the indigenous Egyptians, who revered the Atlanteans' knowledge, conquered them and began to misunderstand the true purpose of these structures. In their desire to harness this power, they attempted to imitate the burial practices of the Atlanteans, leading to the creation of mummies. However, they did not possess the knowledge needed to revive the deceased through the energetic devices used by the Atlanteans, leading to the preservation of bodies in an attempt to emulate immortality. As some patients recalled, the Atlanteans had a method for preserving the body and reviving the dead. The process involved draining the body of all moisture and liquids, wrapping it in cloth, and then using an energetic device to repump life into the preserved body. This repumping device was lost and destroyed during the indigenous people's conquests, and what remained were the preserved bodies. Later, the indigenous people tried to replicate this process in hopes of achieving immortality. However, the problem was that they didn't understand how to repump the dried bodies, and as a result, they created mummies instead. The true function of the pyramids as energy collectors and the Atlantean use of spiritual devices for resurrection were ultimately lost during the conflict between the ancient Egyptians and the descendants of the Atlanteans. As these technologies and practices faded, the knowledge of how to properly preserve and revive the dead was forgotten, and the mummification process became a misguided imitation of the Atlantean methods. This story provides a fascinating lens through which we can view the ancient world and its mysteries. If you're intrigued by these concepts and wish to delve deeper into the spiritual history of Earth, Dolores Cannon's The Convoluted Universe is an essential read. It explores these topics in greater detail, offering profound insights into our past and the true purpose of the pyramids and other ancient sites. If you've watched the Transformers series, you'll remember the scene where the Transformers, who are portrayed as extraterrestrial beings, have a battle at the pyramids and treat them as an energy device rather than a tomb. In that scene, the protagonist even holds a key to open a portal. This scene must have taken inspiration from the book and the myths. Of course, the Egyptian government would preserve the official story, claiming that the pyramids were built by humans dragging stones, and this is understandable. However, you should read about it in the book to form your own thoughts on the matter. The pyramids of Egypt, long regarded as tombs for pharaohs, may hold secrets far beyond their traditional understanding. As we explore the spiritual and energetic aspects of these structures, we uncover a deeper connection to an ancient civilization that utilized spiritual powers in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. The story of the Atlanteans, their rise and fall, and their connection to the mystical origins of the pyramids offer a fascinating narrative that challenges conventional history. For those seeking to explore these mysteries further, Dolores Cannon's work provides a valuable gateway into understanding the true purpose of these ancient monuments and their connection to the greater cosmos.